Welcome back, everybody. We're diving into a story today that really makes you think about luck, generosity, and how those two things sometimes collide.
It's a story with so many twists and turns you almost wouldn't believe it if it weren't for, well, all the evidence.
Right. We're
Ugh.
talking court transcripts, police interviews, news reports, the whole nine yards.
All to try and unravel the truth behind Abraham Shakespeare, the man who won millions in the lottery back in 2006.
It's a case that really grabs you, doesn't it? I mean, who hasn't dreamt of winning the lottery?
Oh, absolutely. It's the ultimate fantasy for so many people.
Right. But Abraham's story is a reminder that sometimes those fantasies can turn into nightmares.
And that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating. Was he just a good guy who got taken advantage of? Or is there something more to it?
Let's go back to the beginning. What was Abraham's life like before he hit the jackpot?
Picture this. He's working as a truck driver's assistant, making $8 an hour.
$8 an hour.
Yeah, struggling to make ends meet. He was living in poverty, really.
Wow, that's tough. So this wasn't just a rough patch. This was his reality.
Exactly. It was a constant struggle. He had actually been homeless for a while, too.
It's hard to imagine going from that to winning millions.
It really is. And what's striking is that despite all of that hardship, everyone who knew him says he was a kind, generous person.
So even when he had next to nothing, he was still willing to give.
That seems to have been his nature. And then, boom, he wins the lottery.
It's almost like something out of a movie.
It really is. $30 million. Can you imagine?
It's hard to wrap my head around that kind of money. Did winning change him?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? He did some things you might expect, set up a trust fund for his son, helped family and friends.
So sharing the wealth.
Yeah, and he bought himself a few things. A new car, a Rolex. But get this, he bought the Rolex from a pawn shop.
A pawn shop. Not exactly the high roller lifestyle you'd picture.
It speaks volumes, doesn't it? And he started a bunch of charities, too. It seems like he really did want to use his money to do good.
He actually gave his last $3 to a homeless man right before claiming the prize. Did you know that?
No, really. That's incredible. Talk about foreshadowing.
Almost poetic, right?
Yeah.
But as we know, things took a dark turn.
They did. Money changes everything, they say.
It sure complicates things.
Yeah.
And that's what we'll unpack as we continue this deep dive. Stay tuned. Okay, so we left off with Abraham kind of retreating from the spotlight, and then Dee Dee Moore comes into the picture.
It's wild, right? She starts off saying she wants to write an article about him for a magazine.
Yeah, but we know that wasn't her real agenda.
Not even close. She was weaving a web of deception from the very beginning.
It's crazy how she used people like Greg Smith to make those phony phone calls.
Remember those rumors about Abraham being spotted in Miami?
Or getting medical treatment overseas, yeah.
All fake. All part of Dee Dee's plan to throw everyone off the scent.
She even had Greg call Abraham's mother. That's just messed up.
It really shows how far she was willing to go. But why did Greg help her? That's what I don't get.
It sounds risky, getting involved in something like that.
Well, Dee Dee knew how to play people. She knew Abraham had paid off Greg's mortgage years ago.
Wow, so she used that against him, like a debt he could never repay.
Exactly. She basically forced him into becoming her accomplice.
It's chilling. She took advantage of Abraham's generosity and then used it to manipulate Greg.
It's a twisted kind of irony, isn't it? But eventually, her whole scheme started to fall apart.
How did that happen? Did someone finally get suspicious?
Greg did. Imagine the guilt he must have been carrying around.
I can't even imagine. To be part of something like that?
So he went to the police, became a confidential informant.
Wow, he flipped on Dee Dee. That must have taken a lot of guts.
It did. And it was a huge turning point in the case. He agreed to record his conversations with her.
So the police had her on tape?
Yeah, and the things she said, chilling. It's clear she was calling the shots, controlling everything.
So what did those tapes reveal? Did she say what happened to Abraham?
Well, in one recording, she actually talks about digging up a body, moving it.
Hold on, she was going to dig up the body.
Yeah, it was cold-blooded. And that's when the police knew they had to act fast.
They had to find Abraham.
Exactly. And thanks to Greg's information, they knew where to look. Dee Dee's backyard.
Her backyard. Seriously?
Yeah, they found a concrete slab. And under that slab...
They found Abraham.
They did. He'd been shot multiple times. It was brutal.
Oh my God, that's awful. So it wasn't just a missing person case anymore. It was murder.
Exactly. And all signs pointed to Dee Dee. But even then, she didn't crack. She kept changing her story, blaming other people.
She really thought she could get away with it, huh?
She was a master manipulator, remember? First, she played dumb, said she had no idea what happened.
Yeah, right. Then what?
Then she came up with this story about a drug deal gone wrong. Tried to blame some imaginary dealer.
Oh, come on. Who's going to believe that?
Nobody did. She even tried to blame her own son at one point.
Her own son. What? That's insane.
It's heartbreaking. This woman had zero remorse. But the police weren't buying any of it. They had her on tape, they had the body, and they had witnesses.
It was only a matter of time before they got her.
They did. They arrested her, charged her with first-degree murder, and then the trial began. That's when things got really interesting.
Oh, I bet. I can't wait to hear what happened in court. It's amazing how Abraham's case led to that law being changed in Florida.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about it. Before that, if you won the lottery in Florida, everybody knew.
They plastered your name and city everywhere, didn't they?
It was like, hey, here's a giant target on this newly rich person.
No wonder some lottery winners end up in trouble.
It's like suddenly you've got all this money and everybody wants a piece of it.
Friends, family, long-lost relatives you never even knew you had.
Right. And then there are the scams, the investment schemes, the people who just prey on those who aren't used to handling large sums of money.
It's easy to see how things can spiral out of control.
And it's not just about financial trouble either. Think about the emotional toll, the stress, the pressure of suddenly being thrust into the spotlight.
It must be overwhelming. All those expectations, all those people wanting something from you.
It's a lot to handle, especially if you're someone like Abraham who just wanted a simple life.
It's almost like winning the lottery can become a curse in disguise.
It can, for sure. And that's why I always say, if you ever find yourself holding that winning ticket, the first thing you should do is get yourself a good team of advisors.
Lawyers, financial planners, that sort of thing.
Exactly. People who can help you manage your newfound wealth responsibly and protect you from those who might try to take advantage.
It's about having a buffer, isn't it?
Yeah, people who can help you set boundaries, make smart decisions, and navigate the whole crazy world that comes with being a lottery winner.
It's a shame Abraham didn't have that kind of support.
It really is.
Yeah.
But hopefully his story will serve as a cautionary tale for others.
It's a reminder that money doesn't solve everything, and sometimes it can actually create more problems.
And that true wealth isn't just about how much money you have, it's about having a solid foundation of values, relationships, and well-being.
Well said. I think we've covered a lot of ground today. We've talked about the allure of sudden wealth, the dark side of the lottery, and the importance of protecting ourselves from those who might seek to exploit us.
We've also seen how generosity can sometimes make people vulnerable and how important it is to balance kindness with a healthy dose of self-preservation.
It's been a fascinating, albeit a tragic, deep dive into the life and legacy of Abraham Shakespeare.
A story that reminds us that even in the face of great fortune, things can go terribly wrong.
And that ultimately, the most valuable things in life can't be bought with money.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. We hope this deep dive has given you something to think about.